Good day everyone, you're welcome to the CSS3 course, which is part of the front-end web developers course from Technify. My name is Sam. I'll be taking you in this course, so let's get started. As our custom is, we have our editor and our browser. So basically what I have here in my CSS3 folder, I have this HTML which I'm loading here, and then this is just a rundown of what we'll be covering in this course. So to start with, what is CSS? CSS basically stands for Cascading Style Sheet. Cascading Style Sheet. So it allows us to specify. It basically consists of a file that you define as with a .css extension, inside which you put all the rules that you want to be applied in formatting or describing or adjusting the presentation of your document. So that's what CSS helps us to do. Basically, just from the name, is a style sheet. It allows you to style your document, to define how the fonts are going to be laid out, how the tags are going to your paragraph, the adjustments you need to be made in order to make your website look and feel great the way you want it to feel. So the sources, the style sources, the several ways we can get sources. Amongst many of them, I'll walk through three. Every browser has some default style settings that comes with it. Browsers like Chrome, Firefox, Opera Mini, Internet Explorer, they all have their default style. So it's called the user agent style. So that is what defines that the headings should be this way, the paragraph should be this way, and all the rest of them. So that's the default style that comes. Now the user of the browser can also specify some styles that he or she wants, and that will also be applied. For example, if you look at my Chrome browser, you see that the style is likely be different from yours. I changed my fonts, the font size and the font style. I changed it, so the default font style is 16 pixels, 16 points, I think 16 points also. That's what I changed it to. And then this font style was also, I also changed it. So, and that has made my browser to show up with a default style like this. So that's the user's style. Now the author, or which is the web developer, can also define a set of styles, and they will be applied to the document as defined. So you see that the author style takes priority more than the user style and then the default style. So the order of priority increases as we move from left to the right, as you see this arrow pointing. So whatever the default style of the browser is, the user, the owner of the browser, can override it, and then that will happen. And then whatever the user has defined, the author, you as the web developer, can also override it, and that will happen. So that's the order of preference that is given to it. So let's start styling our document. If there are several ways we can bring in our style, add styles to our document, so I'll just walk through these ones I've listed here. So let's open our HTML. The first one is the inline style, which we do using the style attributes that every HTML element comes with. So I can say the color for this paragraph to be, I set it to white. To add readability, I can set the background color, background dash color, can set it to green. So when I save and reload, you can see that the style has been applied. So that's one way we can do it. I want to cut that. Another way we can do it is to put the style in the head section. So you can see that what is basically happening, I've taken out the style. What is basically happening is that for you to style an element, you have to first of all define that, okay, this is the element I want to style, the P element. That's what I want to style. So you come over there and then put the style there. But in this case, we are putting our styles in the head section. We are putting our style in the head section. So let me collapse this a bit. Our styles are in the head section, so we have to find a way of defining the element that has it, because if we just come over here and then dump the styles, so there's no way, although we are putting the style, there's no way of defining which element you want the style to be applied to. So we need to find a way of defining it, and the way we do this is quite simple. So you have this style tag that you specify. So this is where you can specify all the style rules that you want to be applied to your document. So a way of selecting this is that I can use this tag name to select it, this P. So that's P. I want to style P, and then I open and close curly braces. So the open and close curly braces is where I will define all the style I want to be applied. It's not compulsory to jump to the new line, but it's just to add readability. So I can define all my style here. So just in the normal way that I did it, the key value pair, I'll just bring them in. You can see the color is the key, colon, and then the color is the key, followed by colon, and then the value is white, then you end with semicolon. That's the first rules. This is the first rule I'm applying. I want the color to be white. The second rule is I want the background color to be green. So the same pattern, key, background dash color, and then colon, the value, followed by semicolon. So we've walked through some of these keys in our HTML5 when we did inline styling. So you can see that the editor has formatted it for me. It's not a requirement, but it's just to improve readability. So when I reload, I see that the style has been applied. So this is putting the style sheet, the style in the header. So sorry, I didn't copy that. So, oh, that's actually an error. So the next thing that we can do is that we can put our style sheet in an external style document. So let's pull up our Explorer. So I want to create a CSS file here. So I normally name style. So since it's a CSS, we are doing CSS, so the extension is .css. So that's a CSS file .css. So inside here, I'm going to put the rules, all the rules that I want to be applied to this document. So I can paste the rules there. So just the same way I define them and then save it. When I reload, you can see that the style is not being applied. Why? Because although I've defined my style in a CSS file, there's no way, the document does not know that there's a style being applied. So as far as the document is concerned, there's no style being applied. So what you do is that you need to tell the document that there's a style, the style for this document, for this page, is located somewhere. You point the document to where the style is located, and we do that in the head section. In the head section, that's where you put the you bring in your styles. So we do that using the link attribute. So you specify link, and then the relationship is style sheet. So I'm bringing in a style sheet, and then the location, I need to point it to the location. You can see that it's in the same folder as my document. So period to denote the current folder, and then I'm bringing in style.css. So let me collapse that. So the next thing you may want to specify is the type of file. For this case is a text file containing CSS, and then we close. So when we save and then we reload, you see that the style that is located here is being applied. So this is how for the most part you would usually want to put your styles in an external file. You don't want to put it in the head. You will almost want to put it in the almost all the website that you can look at all have their style sheet in an external file. So this is how you most likely bring it. Another way we can is to import the style. This is usually the case when you have your style in some external sheets that maybe some specific style you want to bring in. So we can use the import rule. So let's say let's simulate that. Let's create another file, style0.css, and just the name I'm giving it, and then I want to take out the styles I've defined here. So when I take it out and then put it in style 0, when I save, you see that the styles are not there, because although in my document I'm specifying that the style is to be taken from style.css, but in my style.css there is no style that is being specified there. So but the styles are in style0.css. So what I can do is to bring in this style into style.css, the style from style0.css into style.css, so that the document will have it. So the way I can do that is using the @import rule. So you specify @import, and then you specify the path to the file. So in this case you can see that two of them are in the same directory. So I'll specify the path. So style0.css. So I can also specify an optional media, in this case for all media, whether it's print or screen, so all media types. So bring in this style. So when I save and reload, sorry, this is a comma, it's supposed to be a period. So I think everything is right. The file is style0. So when I save and reload, you see that the style is being applied. This is normally the case. Maybe you want to normalize your document, you want to restore them back to some defaults. You don't need some of these elements come with their default styling, you don't need it, and you have a normalized file, normally normalized.css you want to bring in. You can use the @import rule to bring them in. So these are the ways we can bring in our file. But for the most case, you normally want to have your style in an external document. There's something I want to point out. In the case where we have the same rule, let's say we have this rule in, okay, let's say we have an external document where this rule is coming from. So I basically have my P in style.css. Remember, that's the one I'm linking to my document. So, and then the formatting really is just for readability, so you can format it. And then in my HTML I have the same rule, let's say specified. Let's say for this we want to check when you have inline. So I have the same rule, but in this case I want the color. Sorry, let me know what we are doing. I don't need RGB. So in this case I want the color to be red, and then I want the background to be yellow. So this is the case of when the same style is being specified, which one takes superiority, which one takes preeminence or has higher ranking than others, which one will take effect. So I have the same color and background color set differently as inline and in an external style, which I am bringing in here. So when I refresh, you see that the inline, the color of red and background color of yellow is taking effect. So the inline takes priority, is given higher priority than external style sheet. This is basically how JavaScript is able to modify whatever style that is being set, because the modification is done inline. So no matter whatever you set in your style sheet is going to be affected. So let's try the case of okay, I think that'll be it. So the next thing that we have up here to talk about is the various ways that we can select these elements. So now that we've talked about how we can bring in our style sheet, let's quickly talk about selectors, talk about comments, and then look at selectors. So the way we can make comments in CSS is using the / and then the asterisk symbol, and then type in this is whatever you want to comment. This is a comment, and then you close the comment using that. So just like we learned in our HTML5, comments are not interpreted by the browser. So when we save and refresh, nothing is changed, but they are not secrets. They are not secret. Anybody can look at the comments by you can right click and then say view source. So when you right click and view source, so that's the style sheet there. So you can load up the style sheet. You can see that the comments I've specified here is available. So it's not something that is secret. People can look at it. So that's for the CSS. Just a quick introduction. In the next session we are going to be talking about different kind of selectors, but basically in this segment you've seen one, which is the type selector, where we select elements by the type that they are. For example, this element is a paragraph, so I've selected it using the P, and that's why the tag name. So that's the selection there. So for this case I can also decide to style the h1 there. I can say h1 and then define some set of style. I want to give it a color of orange, I'm passing some color there. I want to give it we've talked about text align, so it's not new. I want to give it text align of right, just to make it change. So you can define some bunch of rules, but for this h1 here, so I can give it a font size. I want to override the font size. I can give it font size of 12 pixels, and then when we save and reload, you can see that that's my h1 element. It's taking that color and it's also right aligned, and then I'm overriding the font size that it has there. Is taking a font size of 12. Can also give it 16. Let's give it 16. So you can see that is that. So this is one way we can select elements. When we return in our next session, we look at various ways we can target elements and give styles to them. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.